Hello, everybody. YuGiOh stories again. Just wanted to do a top 10 decks of the format. I'm gonna do mine a little bit differently. I'm not gonna do it in like chronological order from like the best decks to the worst decks. It's more of like representation and how good the deck is. So let's start off with what I believe are the best three decks of the format. And now these decks aren't necessarily like way better than the tier right below them, but I feel they're most consistent and they are the most powerful of the current decks. So let's start off with Salamangreat. As you all know, I love playing Salamangreats. They're very consistent. They have a bunch of follow up plays. Usually, after your first turn, your next turn will be really explosive. It's pretty good at going first. Doesn't set up the craziest boards, but it sets up nice, consistent board with a negate or a disruption here or there, or like a dweller. And it can go second thanks to its hand traps, thanks to things like transcode. Some people are playing the Cerberus, which I'm playing, which actually lets you TK a lot. And the downsides of Salamangreat, it struggles against Winda so much, especially with the new Master Rule. We used to use Kaku to out Winda in the actual Monster Zone, but I cut Kaku since you can fusion summon anywhere. Another con is Nibiru. It's really hard to play through Nibiru. You need like Will or you need Circle, and you need to save them till the end. Usually you'll fire off Circle to get your Gazelle, so Nibiru is kind of really strong against us. Another downside to playing Solid Mangrates is how much back row decks there are right now. Solid Mangrate's kind of taking a toll because everybody's playing like Lightning Storm and Cosmic Cyclone, so that kind of hurts Solid Mangrate. And last is there can only be one. A lot of decks lose, so there can only be one, but Solid Mangrates has a little bit of outs like Foxy and whatnot, but it usually hurts them a lot. But overall, I think Salamander is one of the best decks of the format. Next, Shadal's. Shadal is crazy strong. Like Winda shuts down so many decks. Construct, like it's so broken. The fact that you can send and it's not once per turn. The fact that it destroys, so good. Shadal Fusion is crazy card if your opponent has an extra monster deck. The fact that you foolish two cards and you get a summon, then that summon either locks your opponent or sends a card or negate the card if it's like Apollo. Then the cool thing about Shadal's now is they're actually playing Alistair and Magical Meltdown. And thanks to Meltdown, your fusion spells can't be negated. Thanks to Alistair, you have a consistent way of normal summoning and getting a fusion spell. Well, the deck is super strong, super explosive going first or second. I feel like you can play through a lot. And going first, sometimes like Winda will be enough. And it's really cool because you can set up Winda and like a Shadal monster. And if it Dark Ruler you or something, and you have like an El Shadal fusion, or you made your play so you can have an El Shadal fusion and a Winda, and then they Dark Ruler you or Imprime you, then you just make your other Winda, they're still under that lock. I feel like Shadal's very strong deck this format. Kind of the cons against it, Mystic Minds. Some people are starting to main deck outs to mine, but I still think Shadal struggle a lot with mine. They struggle a lot against trap decks like Eldritch and Ultrageist, especially if they don't go into their back row. Oh, no, not their back row, their extra monster, like the extra decks, which Ultrageist kind of does a little bit, but Eldritch barely does it. And Order and Anti Spell. A lot of decks are actually picking up Order and Anti Spell. Might be specifically because of this deck, but yeah, that's something that they have to fight. I've seen people use the construct link to help them fuse with like without spells. That's a nice little thing that I've seen there. So it's definitely very powerful. Definitely one of the top decks. And last but definitely not least, Rocket slash Dragon Links. Kind of like Salamangreat. This deck reminds me a lot of Salamangreat, where Salamangreat uses a lot of Cyberse monsters like Lady Debug and the Prohibit Snake and Buffalo to help the Salamangreat engine. Rockets use a lot of dragon monsters to help the main rocket strategy. But like Star Leash Safer, I think it is. That card's so broken. That's like a one card combo. You just need to discard. And it has a lot of one card and a lot of two card combos. The deck going second can OTK a lot, like super easily. Going first, it can make crazy boards. It can play through hand traps most of the time. I've seen the deck play through two hand traps. I've seen it play through like Nibiru and Ash, which is insane. Sometimes like with bad hands, like two hand traps will usually stop you if it's like a bricky hand. I think the deck is very explosive. You don't put a lot of resources into your end board, so it has a lot of like follow up plays. Kind of the cons, even though it has like 1 to 2 card combos, I do feel it has like a consistency issue. You're playing some cards that you don't want to draw into, or you're playing like a lot of cards that not can brick you, but like if you draw only like rockets, like that's kind of bricky. Like if there's some hands that are kind of unplayable. Next, another con is kind of like the follow up. This deck tends to use a lot of its extra deck to win. It usually wants to win in the first couple of games, but like if you grind with this deck, you'll see by like turn 3 or turn 4, they'll have like maybe 4 cards left in their extra deck, and it's really hard for them to like make a good follow up after the first couple turns. And the deck also struggles against there can only be one and other floodgates. Alright, next up, the tier 1.5. These decks, just because they're lower, does not mean they're not as good, does not mean they're not as powerful. I think these decks are just as powerful as the tier 1 decks. I just feel like their representation is not quite there. Let's start off with Invoke. So, Invoke 1 card engine. Alistair, Meltdown, 1 card engine. Every turn, you get the Alistair summon, you get the invocation, you get the fusion summon, and you can take stuff from your opponent's graveyard. There's so many different builds to invoke. There's invoked dolls, invoked mech knights, invoked eldritch. Like it's crazy. And Purgatrio and Mechaba are just so strong. Purgatrio can OTK out of nowhere. Mechaba negates. It's a really strong deck. The cons, it's kind of hard to play against trap decks. Consistency, like for Mech Knight Invoke, if you don't see any of the Mech Knights or any of the Alistair, you're just playing like going second spells. Like Shadal Invoked, I would say it's pretty consistent. Well, let's say you summon Alistair and you only have 4 Shadal monsters in hand, and the Alistair gets negated. Like you have no other ways to play. So I feel like that's a little bit of the cons. It's a little bit inconsistent, but overall, I think it's worth playing Alistair into those. And next is Floodgates. It kind of struggles against Floodgates. What deck doesn't? It is one of the cons to playing Invoke. I still think Invoke is very solid in all its different varieties. I think it's a very strong, solid deck. Orcus. Galate and Dingerzu are amazing. Dingerzu does so much for the archetype. Sending, attaching, protecting, like 3 effects. It's so crazy. Galatea being able to tutor out your negate, being able to tutor out your field spell so you can play. It's so broken. A lot of builds are usually going first, but people can make their Orcus builds to go second. So that's actually really crazy. When you can play a deck going first and second, that's when you got the best. The counter trap is broken. Crescendo, I believe it's called. Like the fact that it banishes is so strong. And then not only does it banish whatever it negates, it then gives you a search on the after it's sent to their graveyard. And another thing is a scrap combo. So people are playing Scrap Recycler and Almirage, and it's so crazy because you can go Scrap Recycler, make Almirage, and resummon the Scrap Recycler if it gets stopped with like a World Legacy or with like a Monster Reborn or something. And talking about World Legacy, Orcus is actually abusing the World Key Blade Master to let them get their World Legacy Succession or other spells that they might play. The cons. Graveyard reliant, so things like Abyss Dweller will hurt, things like DD, Crow will hurt. It doesn't really have an optimistic mind. I think the Orcus Return, the one that sends from field or grave to draw, that's one of their few outs they have so they can clear their board. And I feel like it loses to Ash Blossom a lot. If they don't have an extender, if you just Ash Blossom their normal summon or Ash Blossom the Nightmare, sometimes it's hard to follow up if they don't have like Call By and extender. But overall, Orca is definitely one of the top decks right now. And Emancipator. I've been playing this deck a lot. I've been seeing a lot of people play it a lot. This deck is so crazy going first. The OCG, I haven't seen it at all, but like the TCG just found the ways to work. I've seen people play it with Go Go Go's, which I think is definitely the right way to play it. The Go Go Go's give you a lot more advantage. Like it generates so much advantage from the graveyard. I can usually play through hand traps, which is pretty crazy. You can play through Nibiru by making Herald before your 5th summon. So it's pretty good. The cons kind of struggles going second. So people have been playing hand traps to help it go second. But overall, I feel like it struggles going second. Winda is so hard to out for this deck. All of your normal summons are usually super weak. All of the researchers are super weak. And it deals with Floodgate kind of bad. A lot of Floodgates hurt it. Like there can only be one. Mystic Mine, you name it. Like it's hard for this deck to play through Floodgates. But overall, I feel the deck is super powerful, can put up a lot in the gates, and it's definitely one of the top decks. Hell, I could even see this being one of the best decks, like up there with the other decks. We just need time to make the deck better, make the builds better, but I have a lot of high hopes for an Emancipator. Next up, Eldritch. This deck is crazy. This deck is in Dueling Book everywhere. This deck can also, like Emancipator, be right next to the tier 1 decks. I think it's just over time. This deck has so many resources. All your traps flow into a different trap. Like the elixirs flow into golden lands, and the golden lands flow into elixirs. And the elixirs usually summon out zombies, being the Eldritch, or if you have Eldritch, you get free zombies from your deck. Sometimes it's hand, it depends on the elixir. But the never ending resources is so crazy. It makes this deck so strong. It makes it, in my opinion, one of the best stun decks right now. There's so many different builds. You can play it pure, you can play it with Invoke, you can play it with Souls and Invoked, or you can play it kind of like combo-y with like more zombie cards. The deck is super consistent. All your elixirs get you to your Eldritch monster. And then when they go to the graveyard, after you summon your Eldritch, they get you a golden land. Like the deck is so consistent because all your cards get you to all your cards. The cons, kind of hard going second. Golden Lord has a really good effect that helps him go second. And back row hate. With more and more stun decks coming out, a lot more people are picking up Cosmic Cyclones. Cosmic Cyclone is really good against this deck. Lightning Storm, since it's come out, it's been good, but it struggles with that too. And then DD Crow and Called by the Grave on your Golden Lord, that does hurt, and that is one of the weaknesses. Since if you're playing without Golden Lord on your field, all your Golden Land trap cards don't get their secondary effect. So you're basically just summoning traps with no effects if you don't have your Golden Lord. But Eldritch definitely one of the top decks. I'm excited to see how it's going to change in the future. So many different builds, and I'm excited to see where this deck will go. Last, Ultrageist. I put this right there with Eldritch, just because Ultrageists are so broken. They're a very good control deck. They're one of the few control decks that can start comboing off. When Ultrageist goes and makes Hexia or makes double Hexia, that it can just get out of hand to a point where you know you can't win. A lot of their cards are plus ones, like Extravagance is plus one, Mellowseek is a plus one, and if you're going second, Mellowseek negs your opponent one and gives you a plus one. Multi-Faker is a plus one, Marionetter is a plus one. Excuse me. And the deck has a lot of negates and a lot of disruptions, making it very strong. The cons, it only has 7 to 9 opening monsters. If you play Almirage and you draw to Liquidus and you draw the trap that revives, it helps you with a little disruption. But normally you only have 6 normal summons, and then you have the one multi-faker. And if you don't see those, it's usually hard to get your engine going. And Altergeist also struggles going second. A lot of people have tried to fix this by playing evenly matched and hand traps, and it does help, but I feel like it still struggles going second since you're mainly playing a trap deck. Tier 2. Really quick, I feel like these decks are definitely underneath, and a lot of them have the same issue. They are really good going first and really good going second, but I feel like they're not as good as the other decks going first or as good as the other decks going second, which is why I place them on tier 2. And I feel like they have a little bit less representation. Heroes, they might be the only exception to the representation rules. Heroes have a huge fan. Dark Law is so crazy against so many decks, but the deck can also OTK go in second. And the deck is super consistent. Shadow searches everything. You have E-Call, you have Rhoda, you have Shadow Mist. So many ways to get access to your monsters. The only cons are Nibiru. The deck kind of loses to Nibiru. Good players will try to play around Nibiru, but the deck does lose to Nibiru a lot of the times. And going first, it doesn't really set up like a negate board. It sets up like a Dark Law board with like the one that's kind of like Trident, and or it could like have like a skill drain monster on the field. So it's a good going first, but it just doesn't put out as good of a board as other decks. Dinosaurs are really crazy. Going second, going first. Um, Going first, they can make like Logia, Dolka, VFD, things like that. So it's really crazy. It's really good. But going second, a lot of them main like Lightning Storm, Tops. Everybody mains one if you're playing Dinosaur. Like Lithogasm is so broken, just ripping your extra deck. So Dinosaur is a pretty good deck. I just feel like a little bit of the content. Sometimes it can be bricky. I've seen like Dinosaur players like brick sometimes. Struggles with floodgates with like mine, and there can only be one. Things of that nature. I wouldn't say it struggles with Winda too much because like Overraptor with your field spell helped you out Winda. Prankatop outs Winda. But I feel like overall it's a good deck. Only that there's better going first combo decks, and there's better going second decks like Shadal's, like Mechna Invoked, and last Mermails. I just want to say I believe Mermails is actually one of the better decks this format. I would have put it in tier 1.5. I just don't see it enough. Consider it that high in the tier. It can hand loop for like 4 or 5 sometimes on a good hand. It uses how 5 Brax is like the best in my opinion out of anybody else. Just because it's a water and it just you inherently play Deep Sea Diva, you inherently play that Lapis Dragon. You will go into L5 Brax like every turn. Then Neptubis is so broken. Neptubis giving you 2 searches and then reborning a monster if it's sent as cost for a water monster is just so broken. The cons, Winda and other floodgates kind of hurt the deck, and Nibiru can also kind of stop the hand loop since Mowing Glacier requires like 5 waters in the graveyard. So when they have exactly 5, you can just Nibiru them, mess up their whole plan. Or if you see a better spot to Nibiru, go ahead and Nibiru them. But like I said, overall, I think Murmur's a very strong deck and something you should all be keeping an eye out for. Last, just honorable mentions. I think these decks are good. They have the potential to be the decks above them. They might not have that much representation or the same amount of power as the other decks, but I don't think you should count them out. And this is just honorable mentions, real quick. Guru, it's a good stun deck. I feel like Geist is better than Guru, but Guru has its own little tools. Black Wings. Shout out to my friend Mark. He has a crazy Blackwing deck, puts up infinite negates with infinity. I just don't see its representation a lot, but I do see people talking about it, and I do believe it has a chance to come up. Cyber Dragons have always been a good going second deck, and I don't believe that's changed. I don't think they're at their peak right now. I feel like a couple formats ago they've been really good, but I don't think you should count out Cyber Dragons. They can still ODK out of nowhere. Burning Abyss, whether you're playing the combo version or the more original Duelist Alliance version, I think Burning Abyss has a lot it can do. It if you play Fire Lake, like Fire Lake's a crazy card. If you don't play Fire Lake and you're just playing the combo deck, like the deck can OTK like crazy and set up boards like crazy. Sky Striker, everyone's favorite. Yes, Engage is hit, but I have seen people try to play with Sky Striker, and let me just tell you, Sky Striker abuses Mystic Mind the most. Most you roll your own monster, so you have nothing left on the field, and you just leave your opponent with one monster. You control the game so well. Widowmaker's back at 2, so that's a plus. Zodiacs are not as strong, but they're super consistent. One card, any Sue monster, any Tenki, any Barrage gets you into Trident. Then you just play hand traps and traps to help you out. Definitely, everybody loves Sue, so I think it's one of the decks that could come up, but I don't think it'll ever get there. Like once we see tournaments start to take off again, I think you'll see like 1 or 2 Sue tops, but I don't think they'll step up from this tier unless we get like Barrage back, we get Rapier too. I don't think that'll happen anytime soon. Trickstars, there's like a loyal Trickstar base out there. Trickstars have a lot of 1 card combos, or I shouldn't say combos, but like 1 card plays. Candinas and their light stages or the terraformings. And they still got Joel and Lock and Reincarnation. That's pretty crazy. Infernoids are definitely a strong deck. Going second, going first. They haven't been around this format a lot, but I don't think you should count them out. They were really popular a couple formats ago. DDDs. I've seen a lot of DDD players on Dueling Book right now. Shout out to all y'all playing DDDs. I think the deck has a high ceiling. I think people are still trying to find the right build, but I don't think you should count DDDs out. And I think DDDs are one of the most likely to step out of this tier and go into a higher tier. And last but not least, since Konami still has Mystic Mine at 3, Mystic Mine Burn is also something you should watch out for. I don't know why people like playing burn decks, but people love not having fun and not playing Yu-Gi-Oh the way like we want to play. But just watch out for that. Make sure you got a out to mine at least in your side deck. A lot of decks should play one or two out to mine in your main deck. But to be honest, usually mine decks play 3 judgment to protect their mine decks. So if you think about it, you realistically want to have 4 outs to their mine, and then they play 3 mines. So it kind of goes into like, oh, okay, you want to have 7 outs to their mines, 3 for the judgment, and then 3 for the other mines. And then if they're able to protect it any other way, that's why the other out is for. So I don't necessarily believe that. I just usually side my outs to mine, or like if my deck has a good time against mine, like Salamander can play through mine pretty well. I usually just side deck something that will help me. Just be cautious. Mystic Mine is a real thing. And thank y'all. Leave it on your comments down below what you think the best decks are. Let me know if I missed anything. I know pendulums weren't here. I have not seen pendulums being played a lot. I know one of them just got like second place or something at the PPG, but I rarely see pendulums being played, so I just didn't want to put them there yet. But this list is subject to change. And yeah, if you guys like this type of content, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I just want to say thank y'all for watching and peace.